Welcome to the T2 Hubcast. Join Martin, Dave, Spencer and guests as they discuss all things personal and professional development. The T2 Hubcast, brought to you by the People Performance People.
So welcome to the T2 Hubcast with me, Martin Johnson.
And me, Spencer Locker.
Spence, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, mate.
2021. We had an interesting 2020.
Yeah.
I think we'd be a fool to suggest that it's going to be anything other in 2021. There's a whole podcast in this to start with, you know, people who go, right, 2021, this is going to be a new year. Let's put 2020 to bed. It ain't going away. We're still in the same situation, right? However, let's not dwell on that. This podcast, Spence, it got me thinking, looking at everybody's social media posts over the new year, certainly across New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and the days thereafter. A lot of people doing resolutions. I love it. I love the positivity of January the 1st and 2nd. And, you know, everybody's on that, in that clear mind of thinking ahead and what I want to achieve and all the rest of it. And I very rarely post anything out. And the reason I don't post anything out is because I've never been a fan of resolutions. I've always maintained that. For a reason.
Why?
Well, I think, let's open it up there. So basically on this podcast, we're going to talk about resolutions, New Year's promises, commitments, goals, whatever they might be. You know, why does everybody make them? But very few, if you actually put it to the test and documented it, very few actually go through with them or commit to them.
Yeah.
Why is that? And I'm not knocking New Year's resolutions. If it gives somebody optimism or hope, which I think is what it's designed to do, then great. But I think you become equally as deflated or have that feeling of you're not good enough or worthlessness when you don't fulfill them or keep them. So I just want to talk about that, Spence, because I think there's a lot of people right now gone into the new year on January the 4th, back at work, probably 4 days into dry January, healthy eating, done 2 sessions at the gym, right? Whatever it is for you, there's a lot of that happening right now. And I think this discussion might be useful in getting people to think about it. But coming back to your question, which I think was, why do you hate?
Yeah. Well, why do you not do the resolution? However, as an individual, you are very much a proactive, driven, motivated person, but you don't do resolutions. And I think you answered that there with the fact that a lot of people don't achieve them.
Yeah, I look at the definitions of words, and I like to, if you're gonna make a statement or make a commitment in life, I think you will need to understand what it is you're making and how that manifests. And I think resolutions for me, and here's the definition of a resolution: a firm decision to do or not do something with utter resolve, right? That's where resolution comes from. You know, absolutely be resolute around, I will or will not do this year. I think as human beings, we are flawed animals.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. And I don't think we're in a constant state of flux based on situations, scenarios are based on the environment we operate in, the people who we interact with. And I don't think we have full control all of the time of whether we do or don't do something. And I think we've learned that from the amount of work we've done on human behavior here at T2. So I think you're setting yourself up for the impossible. For example, Spence, when someone says, my New Year's resolution is to not smoke or to not drink or to go to the gym 5 times a week, or to save £500 per month, whatever it is, right? And even more loosely defined resolutions, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, because you're sort of completely taking out the equation, the fact that you're a human being and you're going to have ups and downs and challenges and shit moments and good days and bad days, and you're going to make a few mistakes and break a few eggs. And the thing about a resolution is once it's broken, it's broken. Does this make sense?
Yeah, very
Once
much so,
you've reneged on it, once you've reneged on it, it makes you lose hope, makes you feel shit about yourself. you might as well now just break it all the time because it's gone.
Yeah.
I've 4 days in and I've broken dry January. I might as well get pissed.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of it because I think it's like, well, you're going from one extreme to the other too quickly. What I'm a fan of is goals.
Yeah.
New Year's ambitions and goals and things that I want to work towards and aim to be. And then I'm going to leave it open to have a journey towards that goal. So if I have a few slips and I have a few hiccups and, you know, I don't get it right sometimes, I'm still in the game.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much so. It's the winning or learning bit, not winning or losing, winning or learning. So if you've got a resolution and it's saying, I will not smoke, then 4 days down the road, you have a smoke. As you said, well, I've broken that resolution now, so I might as well carry on. Whereas if you've got a goal not to smoke, that's the end result. It's like, I tell you what, we were talking the other day, me and Dave, and me and Dave were talking about change and people's resistance to change. And we're discussing it and we're sort of thinking, well, change is the process of traveling. We can't call it a journey unless there's a start point that's defined and an end point that's defined. So if those end point, start point and finish points aren't defined, it's not a journey, is it?
Yeah.
So if somebody says, right, we're going to change, something's going to change, and let's face facts here, whether it's a goal or a resolution, it's a period of change or a potential change. If you don't have a start point and an end point, then it ain't going to work, is it? So, and that's the resolution bit, is this is what's going to change. You haven't actually got a start point and a finish point there with the goal you have.
Yeah. And also, resolutions come around every year as a result of Christmas and another year going by, and it's forced. So it's like saying you're a person who doesn't really set many goals or anything, but then once a year I'm going to absolutely create some resolutions and stick by them and wonder why we can't fulfill them, because you don't form habits of achieving goals generally in life. So you're not going to do it on this occasion, right?
And it's a BHAG, isn't it?
Yeah. So I tweeted out on, I think it was the 1st of January. I thought I'll tweet, but I'll tweet my own thing. And I put a tweet out and I put, I never do resolutions, only goals. This year's are, number 1, maintain work-life balance. That is, if you think about that, and the reason why I think in this way is it's an ongoing goal of mine, not just this, but maintain work-life balance. It's really important, but it gives me the room to sometimes have periods where we're busy, where I don't really get it right, and I'm more work than life. It gives me time sometimes to do the opposite thing. But overall, over the course of the year, I'd like to think that I try and maintain work-life balance, but it gives me some wriggle room, right? Yeah. Grow the business. I want to grow the business. Now, I aren't putting a number on it just now. I mean, I do. You know I do behind closed doors, but I want to grow the business. Play more golf, I put, which my wife loved, because she's like, really? You can play more golf? What time have you got that I don't know about? Listen to the Smiths daily. I'm weird, right? I get pure joy out of listening to the Smiths. That melancholic lyric by Morrissey. Usually people listen to it and say, this is god-awful music. It lifts me up every day. I put it on while I'm in the kitchen, while I'm pottering around, whatever. Listen to the Smiths daily. And number 5, help others as many as possible. You know, they were goals to mine. They're always goals, but they're goals that I really wanted to sort of put out there and allow myself to be human on the way and get it wrong sometimes and all the rest of it, but know what I'm working towards. And I think, you know, some people might say, oh, man, this is ridiculous. What if someone's resolution or a goal, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I just think the main point I'm making is, generally in my life all the time, Spence, I'm trying to set goals. I'm trying to create the law of attraction that says, doesn't matter if it's January, February, June, November, September, whatever it is, I'm working towards something. And that something is always around what I want to achieve or do or make things better, not on what I want to stop. Does this make sense?
Yeah, well, it's challenge and threat, isn't it?
Yeah. Not on always what I must stop doing, or I'm not going to do this year, or whatever it might be, because that's much more digestible and achievable to me, whilst allowing myself to be human and mess up. Yeah. Right, every now and then, which we all do. Rather than like living through a year and then going, right, I'm going to stop doing this, I'm going to stop doing that, and it's going to be absolute definitive, no margin for error. And then when I make a mistake 7 days in, it's all come crashing down and it's another year.
Yeah.
Same shit, different year, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I don't want to dispel anybody from having New Year's resolutions. If it realigns your thinking for that time, my sort of message is I want people to start thinking about having more goals on an ongoing basis and just living life in a way, whether it's your personal life and in your career, having goals. Having goals and creating the law of attraction, but allowing yourself to be human.
Well, we're going to say if you're one of these people that frequently sets New Year's resolutions and just as frequently fails to achieve them, maybe reframe them as goals, and that'll give you the sort of the bandwidth to actually make them realistic and achievable. Smart goals, smart targets, if you like, because as you said, if you're aiming for something mid to long term, then yeah, we are human. Yes, we do stumble. Yes, sometimes we do fail, if you like. We don't achieve the goal that we want straight away. But you know what? That gives us an opportunity to reassess to how are we going to do things differently. Whereas, as you said, with resolutions, once you fail a resolution, that's it, done and dusted. But those goals live on, don't they? So maybe reframe those resolutions into goals and give you more of a fighting chance of actually achieving them.
Yeah, absolutely. And me and my wife have this ongoing joke about dry January. You know, I think I do it just to wind her up now. I'm like, I'm definitely doing dry January. She's like, you won't last 4 days. You won't even last an hour. And I'm like, I will, because if you back me in a corner, I'll do it, right? I know that I've got, more to the point with me is, I don't really need to or want to, because I generally drink in balance. I think I have a healthy lifestyle. I work out. So I can have a bloody drink if I want to, when I want to. But it's that definitive, you are not doing it at all, which I think is an even harder task. It sort of sets you up to fail, doesn't it? On another note, I know a guy who has an interesting technique. He doesn't wait until end of December, January. He starts in December. So his theory is like, I'm going to run 5K a day from the 1st of December through Christmas and enjoy myself. So by the time he hits January, when everybody's fat and lethargic and, you know, eating too much Christmas pudding and drank too much beer and everyone's setting these goals, this guy's already ran 5K a day throughout that entire month. He's in his flow. He's going into January going, old news, mate.
Yeah.
He's formed a habit of doing things whilst everybody else is just getting started. Interesting concept. But I guess that's what we're trying to say here. You know, it can't just be reserved for certain times of the year. I bet there's people who have made New Year's resolutions 1 year spends and they've formed a habit of it since, and it's changed their lives. Do you know what? Good on you. But for me, you've sort of formed habits and created goals on an ongoing basis. And I guess the main point here for me is when something is too definitive, there's no margin for error.
Too binary.
And lots of pressure is on you, they're the ones where it almost always falls in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And goals, I don't know if you've got the definition of a goal written down, Spence, but I think it uses the word non-binary in it.
Yeah, it's non-binary and non-rigid, because when you've got goals, when you've got resolutions, you either achieve them or you don't. That's the binary aspect in it. I will do this or I will not do this.
And to our point earlier, once it's broken, it's gone.
Yeah,
the resolution has been broken. Yeah.
Whereas if you've got a goal, an object of a person's ambition or an effort or an aim or a desired result, then it's not necessarily, if I don't achieve it, then, well, that's it, done. No, if you don't achieve it, then you do it differently. You learn from your mistakes. It's what we talk about when we start talking about challenge and threat state and things like that. It's changing your internal rapport. It's changing how you sort of approach problem solve and approach issues and difficulties. So it can continue. If it's that important to you, if it means that much to achieve it, it's got to be a goal. Because we know we're only human. We fail. We trip up. We stumble. We make mistakes. But we can't let that be the end of it, because we'll never achieve anything. Yeah. It's the resilience of our species, really.
It is. And therefore, I think going into 2021, anybody listening to this, certainly from a professional standpoint or a personal standpoint, we use the word human a lot in all of our work.
Yeah.
The title of my book is I Am Human. The Human Iceberg is the most popular day we do around self-awareness. we talk about the human brain, we talk about everything being human, right? But to be human is to have goals and targets that create the law of attraction, which are largely centered around what we would like to be, or what we would want to achieve, or what we would desire to happen, and then set off in the endeavor, knowing we're going to fuck up a few times. Excuse my French.
Yeah.
That's what humans been about. Not making definitive, bold resolutions that cannot be broken, because you're leaving yourself no margin for error.
And you've set your stall out with your goals, haven't you?
I have.
So, yeah.
And you know what? I didn't listen to the Smiths yesterday, I don't think. Oh, actually, I might have done. But I don't listen to them every day. But every day I don't, I'll maybe bang them on for 10 minutes the next day. Yeah. Or, you know, if I go through a period where we're really busy at work and I don't get any golf in for a month, then maybe I need to take some time out and have a few rounds, because that's my present time. That's my happy time where I don't think about work or anything like that. You know, it's just one of them where it's a continuous ongoing thing that I am desiring to do that will never be over. It will never be over because I've reneged on anything, or I failed to do it, or it didn't quite work out. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a massive person on goal setting. I've always set goals for myself every year. You know, when I talk about the business, where we're heading, and I do get to the point where I start defining goals by metrics, so certain financial goals or revenue goals, which by the nature of them, you have to give yourself. But I don't then go, right, we never hit that figure. We hit $5,000 less, so we failed at all.
No.
I actually go, do you know what? We've achieved this. And we probably wouldn't have achieved this if we didn't set the figure. Yeah. Right? And that's what it's about. It's about understanding that you've got to create the law of attraction with goals and targets and aims, but understand that you're human. And I think those who go into New Year's resolutions or New Year's or new periods or whatever it might be, who think like that, stand the greatest opportunity of being successful with them.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's the whole point of setting them, isn't it?
It is. It is. So anybody listening to this who set a New Year's resolution and it's January the 4th and you've broken it, don't worry, right? Don't worry. Back on the horse, reframe it into a goal, make it a little bit less pressurized and descript, and just give yourself some margin for error. That's the main message in it, mate.
Yeah, I think so.
Any final thoughts from you, Spence, for the new year? Is it a new year, new you?
No, it's the same old me. I've got goals. I've got things I want to achieve or change. I want to be a less considerate lover.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bit more selfish.
I hope Sharon's listening to this.
No, it's no major changes, no big changes. Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think little tweaks every so often, you know?
Yeah. I think, for example, things are fluid, aren't they? And I'm not one for, I've not overly personally been impacted by COVID as much as others. I've sort of ploughed on how I plough on. My goals never changed last year. We had the best year ever in the business. I'm sort of one, like we've talked about in previous podcasts, that's not always affected by what happens around me. I sort of remain focused on task and on what I want to achieve and all the rest of it. However, what I would say, if there's any slight change in me from last year, is I've noticed that I've started to desire experiences a bit more this year than I usually would.
Right. Okay.
So if I'm traditionally a person who wants to set targets around what I want to achieve and grow in the business and financial targets in my personal life and all the rest of it, I've not overly been one that typically sets goals around experiences. So I want to visit these places, or I want to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this year more than ever, I'm starting to crave experiences.
And do you think it's because people have turned around to you and said, you
can't?
can't?
I think that's part of my psyche. I think when people tell me I can't go on holiday or I can't travel to this destination or go see my family on the South Coast or whatever it might be, I think when that's presented to me, that's part of my persona of being boxed in and being dictated to and oppressed.
Yeah.
So I think that might be it. But I genuinely think I'm starting to crave like being around a pool at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening with your final cocktail before the sun goes down. You know, that last hour where the unbearable sun is not is not in the sky anymore, and it's the tranquil. You're merry.
Yeah.
You're watching your kids play in the pool, and you're enjoying the last bit of the sunshine before you go to your hotel and have a power nap.
And then you get up and cane it.
And then you have a power nap, and then you get up and you have a massive meal, 4 bottles of wine and nail a karaoke, right?
That's another 6 hours, isn't it? Yeah.
But that last hour of the day,
mellow,
that is the most enjoyable one of the, when I reflect on it, it's probably the most enjoyable experience you'll have. You're completely present, you're completely comfortable, you're not being troubled by the complexities of life or the busyness of life, or you don't have to be anywhere, you don't have to do anything. And something that for the first time this year that I'm craving in that.
I get that, yeah.
So it's like a few decisions I've made recently. I was talking to you about it today about me moving house and stuff. A few decisions I'm making now is to actually reprioritize as a family, having some experiences this year in the form of trips, holidays, whenever we can. You know, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
vaccine rolls out, and we've been saying this for a year now, but fingers crossed, this does make the difference. I'm really craving that. So I think I've learned something about myself in terms, and this is what I'm saying about not. If I said, right, I'm sticking to this year. Well, actually, no, I've got to pivot because the goalposts have changed.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, if you've got resolutions, as we said, we've got to stick to them. If you stick to resolutions, you might be missing opportunities and goals. The flexibility of goals might allow you to actually explore those opportunities when they come. Sometimes you've got to take those opportunities while you can.
A goal is ongoing. I can push my goal back out to next year. I might miss it by 18 months, but it's still always my goal. My resolution this year in 2021 is either met or broken in a 12-month period.
Yeah.
That is the point we're making, right? So if it kickstarts your thought process, brilliant. If it's give you a new lease of life and you're 4 days into the gym, crack on. If you're doing dry January and it's give you that impetus, brilliant.
Yeah.
Diets, whatever it might be, right? Financial goals, please start thinking about reframing them into goals and not just definitive resolutions. It's not a January thing. It's not a February thing. It's not if I break it or renege on it, it's gone. It's an ongoing process, a journey, if you like. And that's what I think the people who are most resolute, excuse the pun, around achieving things do.
But that I think that when we say that, we've got to sort of reframe the word resolute. I'm resolute in the pursuance of a goal.
Yeah.
I'm not resolute in that achieving.
Yeah.
And it's the pursuance, isn't it?
I am resolute in the pursuance, but I'm not absolute
in the achievement.
In the outcome.
In the outcome, yeah.
Cool. Bloody hell, stumbled across that little power.
We did, didn't we?
Little power.
We might have to mess around with that. Give it to Lydia. She'll do something with it.
Awesome. Well, listen, Happy New Year to all our customers.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to all our listeners. If you're just listening from subscribing, with plenty more podcasts and stuff coming this year on all sorts of topics. Have a cracking year. Set goals. Allow yourself to be human. Don't worry about it. We all do it.
Yeah.
I broke mine 24 hours in. I'm back on the horse.
Well, that's the problem, innit, with having a New Year's Day on a Friday. I will give up such and such, but actually I'll put it off till Monday before I start.
I'm going to do dry January. Oh, God, it's Saturday night and the Masked Singer's on. Get the red wine out, will you? And on the Masked Singer, on that note, we will finish. Spencer Locker, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Martin.
And we'll be back shortly with another T2 Hubcast.